ABC No Rio was founded in 1980. Back on New Year's Day in 1980, about 30 artists broke into an abandoned building on Delancey Street, which is just one block south of here, and put up a show called The Real Estate Show, which was an art installation dealing with real estate and the politics of property. That show was almost immediately shut down by the police. All the artwork was confiscated by city marshals and locked up. And there was a bit of a political and publicity furor about that. At the time, this is 18 years ago, it was sort of like homelessness and real estate and stuff wasn't in the news like it's been for the past 10 years. And the city was a bit embarrassed about it all. So they actually entered into negotiations with the artists and eventually offered them an alternative space, which was the storefront and basement at 156 Rivington Street. And that's what became ABC No Rio back in, by that time it was probably the spring of 1980. And then a couple years later, they actually got a lease for the space. So that's how the actual place was born, by this, this sort of artist intervention action that happened in New Year's Day of 1980. Mm-hmm. And then the first 5 years, the place was pretty much dominated by visual artists, and there were a lot of shows going on here. And then that book, which you have a bit of, sort of documents those early years. In the mid-'80s, it was sort of a boom in performance art and performance activity in the East Village. There was a whole East Village performance scene, mm-hmm. and No Rio was part of this circuit of venues in the neighborhood where performance art was going on. And then toward the late 80s, there was a lot of spoken word and performance poetry type of activity going on here. And No Rio was really instrumental in the resurgence of spoken word and performance poetry in the late 80s. And then I think it was 88 or 89, the hardcore shows started happening here. So as time went on, it wasn't like one thing replaced another. It's like more things just started happening in No Rio.
I feel like ABC No Rio represents like the best of what the Lower East Side has been and should continue to be, which is a place with lots of spaces that doesn't cost a lot of money to get into, you know, and you don't have to be a big name to perform, although there have been plenty of named people, well-known people who have performed here. You don't have to be. It's kind of like a down-home scene. We can all connect to it. You know what I'm saying? There's no separation between the audience and the important artists. It's not like that. And it's also political. I forgot to mention that. We have benefits here for legal funds, for people who have been arrested for actions. Many of the art shows are political in nature. Is there a critique of the society that we're in? It's a space that kind of blends the political culture and the arts culture. And I can't think of many spaces that do that consistently. So since, I'm a person who's very much involved in politics, and I'm also an artist, it means a lot to me to have a space like this around.
So the space gets used by a lot of community and political and activist organizations, like Food Not Bombs, which prepares food and serves it to people in the park. The Coalition to Save Mumia Abu Jamal has had meetings here, and they're an organization working to free African-American political prisoner here in the United States. ACT UP has done benefits here. And then also in recent years, we've gotten pretty closely associated with the squatters movement in New York City. So there's actually also a fence organization called Eviction Watch that has meetings here. And some of our most militant supporters actually come from the squatters community.
6 years ago, I've been doing shows on the Lower East Side for a couple of years, benefit shows, and a guy called Mike Bullshit was doing shows at ABC, and they were mainly hardcore shows. And he quit, wanted to move on. And he asked this other guy, Freddie, who was doing War Dance Records at the time. Freddie said, yeah. Freddie didn't realize how much work it would take to do it, so he gave me a call after a few shows. I started hanging out there, and he asked if I was interested in doing a show, so I says yeah, and the first show I done was Oi Polloi. It was a good show, big crowd. And that's basically how I got involved in ABC. ABC at the time was just like, we rented the downstairs to do shows. I wasn't involved. I didn't get involved with the whole building until about 3 years later, when basically what happened, the art collective that was looking after the building, they all quit and left the building to me. And that's when things started getting really difficult. And that's how I got involved.
Alright, this one is along similar lines. That one was about people in prison just for their political beliefs, business of conscience and stuff. It's for anyone who works for anything like Anarchist Black Cross or anything like that, helping business of conscience. This one's on similar lines. It's about police in general. This one been fucked around by the cops. The first 99% of orders. Let's see everyone wants to get a sing-along. The cops was with us. We're taking our door. We're bringing down the door. Okay, let's go. How your wonderful government has fucked up the affairs of a lot of Central American countries. Let's go! Hands off Nicaragua! Yes!
I have been around music like for a long time. First, where I come from in Colombia, and then here I was going to shows at CBGBs and the occasional squad show and all that. And we were always talking about DIY and punk and this and that. And it sounded like a really good idea at the time to do our own shows and have a space where we would be running things as opposed to always attending the regular club, which I guess Squad Rock at the time and a few other squads were doing shows like that. But this was a space that was going to be more permanent, more regular. So that's why we all started lending a hand. I guess we weren't looking that much into the future. We were just like, we're going to start doing this, and we'll do one this week, and we'll do another one next week and see what happens. And 1 week turned into a month, and 6, 7 years.
coming around in the late 80s, like 87 or 88, and the person who was more or less, keeping things going here at the time, Luciano, just asked me to sort of get involved. And then when they went overseas to do a show at Hamburg, Germany, I stayed here and sort of looked over the place while he was gone. And then when he came back, he asked me if I wanted to stay on, and that's pretty much how I got roped into it.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about, the activities you've been involved in ABC No Rio.
Well, here it's mostly like sort of administrative. I organize the visual arts stuff, and then now there's like a group of us who organize the installations and things like that. And I do just a lot of the nuts and bolts stuff, like dealing with publicity, dealing with our lawyers, dealing with the city bureaucrats. So now I'm like sort of backing away from like organizing events here. I mean, there's still a few things I do, like I help put together the show up that's now with Johanna, Regina, and Nancy. And there's a couple other installations that I was responsible for, like curating and organizing. I pretty much write some of the grants, keep the money coming in, for visual arts type stuff. But for the most part now, since we're doing this whole building project, I'm like backing away from dealing with like running events and doing stuff like that, and more worried about raising the money to do the building project and making sure that that actually happens.
We got the idea for this show because this is the third year in a row we've done a women's show annually at Bullet Space, and this year we decided to extend it to ABC No Rio and have a theme, and the theme at Bullet Space is home, and the theme here is the fringe dwellers.
And Bullet Space is a squat, too.
It has a gallery space.
Yeah. And it's an artist squad, and Johanna actually lives at Bullet and has a studio at Bullet. I'm a painter, and I have a studio at Bullet Space.
Why did you decide to put the work in ABC No Rio? Start with that.
I guess to just sort of to unite the two community spaces and to extend the show more space and make the show more work.
And two squads that are focused on art, that their drive is art and culture in the community, and not only living space, but that art and culture is a necessity and not a luxury.
The fringe dwellers was just a pretty loose theme of people who who weren't like maybe doing the regular soul artist, careerist type of thing. So we've got very different people. Some people who are like that, but their work is about something different, like the Melinda Hunt did the Potter's Field piece at Lights Island. And Nina Ko is shown a lot, but she has the experience as a Chinese American woman. And we have some people who are mentally disabled, so-called mentally disabled, people who live in squats, people who have sort of an alternative sort of lifestyle.
And how many years have you been doing this? I mean,
This is the third year.
third year. And how do you find the people's reaction to it?
I think we're getting, we're building up a bit more of a reputation every year, and we've sold a few pieces last year, and just sort of slowly. Yeah. Sort of slowly.
Rebellion and folk rock and rock and roll and all this shit has always gone hand in hand, I think, with the sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing, regardless of whether anyone wants to fess up to that or not. Rebellion in the form of smoking or drinking or, fucking, just being an obnoxious asshole. If that's like, if somebody thinks that is a true form of rebellion, then they're probably pretty young. Either that or they just, like, there's also a lot of nihilistic people out there. People that just want to fucking be wasted, want to be fucked up, don't want to have to deal with life, you know. And the young kids, you got to cut them slack because they're just doing what young kids do, which is, you know, experimenting with stuff. But if it takes over their lives, it's kind of fucked up. And it is right now being really hyped up in the punk scene is like drinking and, you know, drugs and, you know, being a fucking reckless idiot are totally cool. You know, just being a moron is a cool thing. You know, I think there's responsible ways to, like, have a beer or, you know, smoke a joint, have a cigarette. You know, everybody has a vice, whether they want to admit it or not. And it's just about being responsible with it and, you know, not letting it take over your whole, you know, identity, your whole pattern of behavior and shit. You know, you can have a beer, that's cool. You can have 6 beers, that's cool. But you have 6 beers every night, and that's, like, how you present your fucking personality is through your 6 beers, and I think that's pretty fucked up. So you're not giving yourself a chance. And a lot of bands are, like, really promoting this being drunk and fucked up thing as, you know, cool. And I think it's a big load of shit, big cop-out. Have fun, that's cool. Everybody wants to have fun. Even the serious political bands, you know, whatever. Everyone wants to have fun, but you don't have to fucking promote total fucking stupidity either. You know? Dago Abortions did it a long time ago. We're all set. I'd say, I don't know, in ABC Rio right now, there's like, you know, there's probably like about 20 people in there that are totally active and do tons of shit. So I could say right here, right now, there's a lot of people in there that do stuff. But everywhere has, like, you know, there's always somebody that does something where nothing would ever happen anywhere. You know, Europe in general is pretty fucking hopping, pretty active. The people there are really organized. You know, when they want to do something, be it political or musical or, you know, fucking theater or, you know, get involved with community stuff, like, they just organize and do it. It's not like, we're doing it to get credit for this, we're just doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Over here, it's different. It's, you know, there's just little pockets of people here and there because this country is so fucking huge. But I like the idea of, like, everyone trying to support each other, like help each other out. I think it's fucking totally important. I'm always like, if there's if there's something that somebody in punk rock that I know knows how to do that I need, I'll go to them. And, fuck everybody else. Even if it's cheaper to go somewhere else, I'll go to the person that I think deserves to get it, I don't know. A lot of people are starting to adopt that, idea that, we are a community and we can support ourselves.
People have about what revolution is about, that it means you have to carry a gun, or that it means that, that it's this glamorous kind of thing, and people don't understand that, like, revolution is about the fucking day-to-day grassroots organizing, that it's not at all glamorous, it's a lot of fucking hard work. That's
The new trend is like speaking about personal stuff and relationships.
But it is personal because those things, those things affect people's lives. They affect our lives, and if they don't affect our lives directly, they affect the lives of our friends. So I mean, it's or people that we choose to show solidarity with. So I think that those issues, it's kind of interesting. It's not necessarily that we don't talk about personal issues. It's just kind of what constitutes personal issues. In punk rock now,
my girlfriend left me.
My girlfriend left me.
That's
It's
like the biggest problem in your life.
Right.
And that's the personal issue you're going to talk about.
That's a big personal thing. But I mean, a lot of Ralph's songs are about how police brutality is especially high in the black community, and how fucking racism and the thing like CIA is about how this fucking country manufactured crack, and destroyed urban communities which were primarily black. I mean, so it all depends on what affects you. I guess to some degree that's an issue of, whether you want to say class or what, but what happens in your life and who is affected.
And the Immigration and Naturalization Service is like, telling me that I can't live with Snyder, that he can't be here. That's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal,
It's like
it
everything
affects
connects.
me in a personal way.
Like,
I had to go for the interview. I have to deal with these people. It's very personal. Maybe a political issue, and I understand it as a political issue, like in my conscious mind as well as feeling it personal. But it's like, it's all together. Personal and political is for us. It's all together. We take it personally. We take it personally that our country is fucking people over in our name.
You're originally from Colombia?
Yeah, I'm originally from Colombia.
We're not from Mexico.
Yeah, that's a fun perception that everybody who speaks Spanish who's perceived to be Latino comes from Mexico or Puerto Rico. But no, I'm actually an immigrant. I was an illegal alien for 10 years. A wetback, if you will. I'm from Colombia. Basically, it's one really screwed up system. Immigration basically can do with you whatever the heck they want. and they're accountable to no one. You're not a citizen. So therefore is the implication that you don't have, that your rights are very limited, although by the Constitution of the United States you're supposed to have a certain amount of rights, which are even being cut off even more because of the new immigration law. Because you were supposed to have a due process before being deported, and now if you leave the country and you re-enter and they do want to, what they call you, exclude you, they can do it without due process right in the airport as you're trying to re-enter. It's really unfair. It breaks up families apart. It's the result of the economical upheaval that having first world countries and third world countries create. It's people in sheer poverty. It's the globalization of the market economies, the corporate world being able to move everywhere else in the world and set up shop and be able to pay people a misery like 28 cents an hour, and then having them be able to pay local police forces to oppress any attempts by the locals to organize in a union and so on, and repress them in the most brutal manner, even through death squads. And then when this situation of violence and economical poverty puts people in a corner, they have to leave, then they're treated like shit because they want to make their lives better and try to make a buck for their families and themselves. And when people have nothing else to sell but their labor, they try to sell it in the to the best market they can find. And that's ironically where the whole global market ends up being global. That's where the borders come up, and that's where people have to stay in their side of the border no matter how bad things are. And that, and let alone the political situation in which, unfortunately, the United States has been financing so much death and misery in third world countries that once again makes people want to leave and try to make it here, the land of the free and home of the brave, and minimum wage of $5.25, which is a fortune to so many people. I'm a vegan chef, although I'm not vegetarian myself, but that's how I make a living.
But you're a vegan chef?
Yeah, I work at a organic vegan restaurant in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I make a living. And I'm an avid cyclist, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I love bicycles. I think they're great machines, and I do dislike cars heavily, and I think, this is such a heavy car culture, and if we could get away from cars a little bit more, things will be a little bit better. So much pollution and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my brother races. He's a bicycle racer, so I spend a lot of time going to bike races and things like that. And everything else just gets consumed by doing T-shirts and running my own band. I have a band called Wasipungo, and we tour and we play shows, and so I do my own record label. We put out our own records, and I'm starting to put out records by other bands. My main goal is to do bands from Latin America that they don't get any exposure up here, so I want to press those records. And we just started distributing a band from Argentina called Phone People, and we have been distributing bits and pieces of different bands, and I doing shirts and pins and blah blah blah, the whole thing. So between all those things, it consumes most of my time. That and the fact that I'm really lazy and I like to sit around doing nothing sometimes.
The next song is called Keep Youth Off Judaism. And it's about...
Fuck all religion.
No, it's not just about religion. It's about, Judaism in Israel is a really weird thing, because it's like your nationality and your religion and like...
All rolled into one.
Exactly. All the bad things rolled into one. It's like the...
Like Reese's peanut butter cups.
No, worse.
Oh, together. I can't imagine. How do you roll a Reese's peanut butter? most radical left-wing, like communists or Marxists, that are in touch with Arabs and stuff like that, they always call themselves Jewish, and they really are proud of their Jewish
Even
identity.
anarchists, yeah, they're like...
Yeah, even the anarchists.
Yeah, it's a problem because people think that you're kind of renouncing to the whole like life experience or the whole like roots or whatever. It's not. I don't think it's bad to like be Jewish in New York. I don't think it's bad. It's not in terms of good or bad. It's your choice. But at this stage, before that, it's like if you're saying you're Jewish in Israel, you're like subscribing to the whole thing that the whole like oppression convoy that it's huge and you can avoid it. You cannot say, I'm a Jew in Israel, like say, but I'm not part of this, this, and this. If you say you're a Jewish, you say you're part of this country, and you say you're gonna treat the Arabs as third-rate citizens or and all of that.
We believe in the peace process. There is a political solution to the
on a pragmatical basis. We not believe in the whole...
We support like the a Palestinian state, even though it sounds like it's contradiction with anarchism, but we really do. Because, you have to. There won't be punk or hardcore or people renouncing their roots unless you have like a more higher economic level in the territories. Only then they will arouse countercultures and alternative stuff or something like that.
Do you think it's possible in the future that there's gonna be a greater amount of that happening, or are you pretty cynical about the future?
Yeah. I think that I'm also kind of pessimist because actually the cards is like in the whole like world policies. It's like the states, the United States are calling the shots because they can, if they want to the Palestinian state to be like more developed, they can do that, And obviously the states don't want to do that. And the whole country of Israel is run by the United States. I think you guys probably know that the taxpayers in the states are paying for the state of Israel. There's the whole like huge aid and aid and all that, and it's all like American supply. We wouldn't be able to exist in the Middle East without the help of America. So actually, I don't think it was something that Noam Chomsky said in Israel like half a year ago, something like that, when he was there. And he said, it's the policy of the state, the United States. It's not gonna be trying to help the Palestinians. It's gonna be like to create a state, a miserable state, to be in like a third world state, and that's it. To be like, I don't know, the equivalent of like Mexico for the States, the Palestinian state to be for Israel, like cheap labor and all that.
Yeah.
That's the...
It'd be like a ghetto.
Yeah, definitely. It's a ghetto right now. Yeah. At my age in Israel, I'm supposed to stop doing what I do, like a punk band, hardcore band, or doing shows or whatever. Supposed to get married, buy a house, mortgage, something like that. So that's what the people are expecting us to do when we go back home or something like that. Obviously, we're not going to do that. We'll stay doing the things we like. We don't give a fuck about those stuff going on there. The big conservative and reactionary mentality. Maybe it will sound weird to you, but I really like something in America. It's like people got some sense of individuality. It's like non-existent in Israel. Like if someone will tell you like what to do or something like that, you will be surprised probably. in Israel it's always like that, you know, they always tell you what to do. Maybe here they use like other like subtle methods of doing that.
Yeah.
In Israel it's like very obvious. Maybe that's the difference, but I think still it got some sort of legacy of individuality that in Israel it's non-existent. It's all like the ghetto mentality of like we're doing everything together and you're gonna be part of it. And if you're not part of it, we're gonna like make your life miserable.
Yeah.
You need that right now?
How does the collective work? I mean,
Well, we pretty much tried to set it up so that the people who are doing different projects here have as much freedom and autonomy to do what they need to do to run their program. So on the level of the day-to-day administration in running the programs at ABC No Rio, there's a bunch of smaller groups and sub-collectives. So there's a group of poets who run the poetry readings and the literature program. The people involved in the hardcore show run their program. There's a committee of different individuals who determine what the visual arts events are going to be. There's a committee that's responsible for fundraising and finance. So the collective consists of any active volunteer who's either involved in running a program like the hardcore show or a poetry reading, or is a volunteer on a committee responsible for administrating No Rio. So the committees are, you know, doing this building project or fundraising and finance. So the collective consists of volunteers. And the active volunteer is a person who's actively involved in either a program, a project, or a committee. The collective meets once a month just to like keep tabs on what's going on and to deal with certain issues. But for the most part, we set it up so that unless one subgroup has a problem with another, they should try to solve their own problems on their own and not bring it to a collective meeting. The only time we really deal with problems at the collective meeting is if they involve these different groups of people. And the idea is to give all the different programs and projects that happen here the freedom to do what they want to do, to solve their own problems on their own, and not have to involve everybody else. And the idea is to set up a sort of self-managing, auto-run collective so that we don't have to have a lot of long, boring meetings, so that people are free to do what they need to do their projects and to solve their own problems. And the only time it should really become an issue is if a problem affects another group or the space as a whole. So the idea was to create a framework for the collective that that allows the greatest amount of freedom and puts a good amount of responsibility on the people involved.
So, what's the first order? Agenda. What's the agenda?
Agenda items. We'll talk about the proposal that was submitted to HPD on Thursday, but I'd rather not that go first because English Steve might be able to come by, but not until 8 o'clock if he is. So let's just not make that first.
Okay.
That's something. Can I get, we had a, there's a 5th Street benefit plan here that we wanted to talk about. And I'd like to, I can do that as quickly as possible so I can take demo. That would make sense. What are agenda items?
I had a couple of about fundraising ideas and also the status of our finances.
Well, basically, we have this policy that we made, we've broken it in the past under certain circumstances where we don't have amplified music after midnight. On this day, we're being asked to sort of break that policy on a day where there's a hardcore show. So my concern is that we'll be assaulting our neighbors with hardcore from 4 in the afternoon till 9 in the evening, and then from midnight till 5 or 6 a.m. we'll be assaulting them again. I'm not against making an extension of this, like no amplified music after midnight, only I think that it's ill-advised and unwise to do it on the same day when we're going to be having a hardcore show. We're talking about like 13 straight hours of amplified music. And it makes me kind of worried because unless somebody steps forward to take on this responsibility, I've always presumed that I'm going to be the individual who lobbies the housing committee members on the community board, goes before the community board to pitch our proposal to them. A year ago, my nightmare, and I've told this to a few people, was that we'd get evicted and our neighbors would be applauding. My nightmare now is when I go before the community board to pitch this proposal, there's a line of 20 people bitching and complaining about ABC No Rio, like the Avenue A Society does every month at the community board meeting. At least half of the community board meetings during the public session is people complaining about nightlife. And I mean, we can't drive ourselves crazy, but I also think it's a mistake to like go out of our way to alienate our neighbors when we're pitching this proposal to the community board. And I gotta go and meet these people individually and try to get them to support it. You know, it's not just like trying to fight one and major things. I gotta go and actually meet them and get them on our side. And the same thing has to be done with whoever the borough president's gonna be and whoever ends up being our city council representative. And if somebody else wants to like take on that responsibility, I would feel less worried about it. But I just don't want to have to answer those questions of like being faced with irate neighbors while I'm trying to pitch this idea to them.
Right now, the whole scene is based on the sound of bass, and basically what's going to happen, the walls are going to vibrate, because here it's worse than where I was at, where we had the whole place soundproof, but the whole building vibrated, and that vibration went through the walls into the next door neighbours. And at this point in time, I think it's a really stupid idea.
Vicki and Margaret have agreed to be responsible for this event. Personally, I'm confident in them. Does anybody object to this event happening?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, now, all right, the next step is, what can we do to alleviate your concerns? Is your
One of two things. I don't think either of them can be, but have them on a different night, because I agree with you that, like, fucking 13 hours of noise is what's considered than 6 or 7. Or have it end, at an earlier hour. Have it end, like, within the confines of what we usually said, which everybody's already said is, like, totally unacceptable for a race.
Okay. What are your...
Essentially, it's the same. I basically believe that it needs to either be on a different day. I mean, the problem to me is that no matter how responsible you are for the event, if someone complains and it becomes a huge issue, and it affects whether or not we get to keep this building, you can't be responsible. And that would upset me a lot, that we're at a state where we're very, a lot can possibly happen, and it's something simple that seems like it wouldn't be a problem could suddenly become a problem.
Well, decisions are made by consensus. So all the subgroups decide on their own what they want to do. So the poets have nothing to do with who the hardcore people book for the hardcore shows. And the punks don't tell the poets how to run their poetry readings. If there is a problem between two groups of people, we deal with it at a collective meeting where we try to make decisions by consensus. So we try to work out a compromise that everybody can agree with.
Well, let's see if we can get a consensus on the proposal as changed by Steve. So could you restate what the proposal is now?
Basically is that we have this event, and in order to ameliorate these negative aspects, there's a problem with the authorities. The event gets shut down immediately, regardless of whatever it is, whether it's like some drinking thing, whether it's a drug thing, whether it's a neighbor's noise complaint. If there's any hassle with the cops, it gets shut down immediately. The other thing is that we have to figure out a threshold level of sound, and they're responsible for making sure that that's not exceeded. If a compromise and consensus proves to be impossible, then somebody can say, let's make the decision by majority vote.
And you're not allowed to. 5 are in favor. And everyone who is not in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. So by a vote of 5 to 3, it has been passed, which is a democracy in action.
There we go.
All right, next order of business.
So again, we appreciate y'all coming out, and money's going to ABC No Rio. And I would encourage you not only to come to the show tomorrow, just because it'll be fun and it's for a good cause, but I encourage you to go see bands play at ABC No Rio and see if you can help out with volunteering in any way, donations in any way. I'm not going to go into the whole spiel about the city and all that stuff. Neil, to do that. But do you have those letters back? Neil has a bunch of stuff. No, Neil will have stuff tomorrow at the show at ABC No Rio. But it's an alternative venue. It's an independent venue. It's not just for music. It's for art and DIY stuff like that. So it's a revolution. Yeah.
The only reason I'm doing an ABC, the only reason that I feel that we should do an ABC benefit, personally, is because of Neil. Because Neil's put a lot into this place, and Neil is our friend, and if it wasn't for Neil, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Straight up. I don't think that any band has any business doing a benefit for something that isn't in their town. I mean, I'm from 7 hours south. What the fuck does ABC have to do with me? We haven't played ABC, 4 years.
Yeah.
We play different places. So for us to play ABC is almost pretentious. But it's only doing it because we're trying to help out a friend. Not for any other reason. Not because we want to be cool, not because we're trying to gain credibility. Just for Neil. If we never played ABC, it wouldn't bother me. I don't care.
And have you been approached by any major labels?
Many.
Yeah?
We've said no to all of them.
Why?
We did go up to see Sony and talk with Sony and see what that was all about. Why? Tons of different reasons. I personally don't want to be on a major label because it's not punk to me. And it makes more, I mean, monetarily, it makes more sense to stay in an indie. So why would I go to a major if I'm trying to make a living? You know, because I mean, there is a point where I have to make a living at this, or decide not to do it anymore.
So
it makes more sense to stay on lookout to try and eke out a living than it does to go to a major and not make any money and not make a living. I mean, there's tons of different variables to everything. I personally just don't think it's punk. And, you know, punk to me is not being on a major label. I don't want to be on a major label. If they were to say, I will give everybody in this band $1 million to sign for that, and you can do one record, and if it flops, it flops, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, I'll sign. I will. I'll take $1 million. And I'll do a record, and if it hits, cool, whatever. If it flops, whatever. And everybody will get back together and start a new band and keep going. I don't give a shit. And if $1 million is going to keep me safe and secure for the rest of my life, being a fucking goof, I'm down. I mean, we've turned down $1 million. And it's really, I don't think there's a lot of bands that can say that they've turned down $1 million.
Turned down $1 million?
A friend of ours is an A&R person for a major label. And we were talking about him, me and Joe were talking with him, and we said, if we were, what would you do? And he said, if you were, I would have a check sent to you tomorrow for $1 million. I said, $1 million? $1 million. And we said no. How many people do you know? I don't know. I know like 5 people ever that have turned down that much money in my entire life.
We could buy a whole block and just be big punk rockers forever.
We could be punk as fuck with $1 million. We could buy more crusty patches than anybody has ever.
Hey!
Shut up, Neil. You toothless liner dicks.
The only thing that I do support, and I don't go there, and I support it in a fashion of I'll play music and hopefully people will pay and we'll give the money, is Richmond Food Not Bombs. That's the only one that I hold anywhere near or dear. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I'm into that. I'm just into the fact that it's in Richmond. And that it's part of my community. I don't want to do anything with it. I don't want to cook for it. I don't even want to go to it. But, you know, I mean, for real, I mean, Avail has kept, according to the people that run Food Not Bombs, Avail has kept Food Not Bombs running for the last 2 or 3 years.
How?
Because we play benefits in our hometown, like 2 times a year, never take any money and give it all to Food Not Bombs. So, I mean, we probably give close to around $3,000 to $4,000 a year to Food Not Bombs.
Wow.
So that's what we do, you know. And Tim is active in Food Not Bombs. Me and Joe aren't active in Food Not Bombs. Me and Joe have been there once. So that's my activity in Food Not Bombs. Is I'm gonna play and do my thing and give you money, but not any politics.
Why does Food Not Bomb? I mean, what?
Like, what do you mean by what is it? Like, basically it's like a bunch of people that get together, you know, like, and cook. And like, one of the things is to like, there are, I guess, a couple of like, issues like behind Food Not Bombs, such as like, the fact that we didn't spend so much money on the military. You know, like, if you were to reduce military spending, you know, for like this defense or whatever it is that they call it these days, you'd be able to feed all the hungry people in this country. There's also, like, you know, like the decriminalization or the, you know, like people are ashamed to be like poor or to be hungry or to take handouts, and it's not a handout, it's like we're sharing food. You're welcome to come back with us and help us clean up. You're welcome to, you know, come the next week and like help us cook or, you know, help us, you know, in any way you can. If you feel like it, if not, you know, it's a no strings attached deal. You don't have to listen to us preach. You don't have to, like, you know, even agree with us, you know. We're really obnoxious. We may not want you to eat near us, but that's about it. A bunch of people who are doing stuff at ABC No Rio decided to, like, you know, it'd be kind of cool to do a Food Not Bombs, you know, at ABC No Rio. And so they actually built this whole kitchen. You know, this used to be, I guess, just an extension of the gallery before. And they built, like, this wall, like, you know, that, I don't know if they built that wall, maybe that was already there from the bathroom. But they built, like, this wall, and they put in the sink, the refrigerator, they found the stove. And eventually, like, they got, like, stuff for counters, and, you know, they put in these floors, too, which aren't really that good, I guess, but it's something.
And why did you decide to do Food Not Bomb?
Well, I kept reading about it, and like, different magazines, like, every time, like, people write an article about ABC No Rio, they mention, like, 1 or 2 sentences about Food Not Bombs. A lot of vegetarian publications at the time were talking about Food Not Bombs. And so it was just a matter of me just, like, actually getting up early enough and coming in, you know, to help out. What else do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I do, like, you know, like, some of the visual arts stuff around here. I'm one of the contact people who, like, in January, I'm setting up a prisoner art show here with a woman from Florida who does a lot of prisoner support work. I'm a contact person for stuff like non-hardcore events. Like, next month, I'm the contact person for an improvisational, like, jazz type filming show. What else do? I deal with the money at ABC, which is probably why it's in such disarray. I also volunteer at Blackout, which is on Avenue B. It's the anarchist, collectively run bookstore. And I also squat, so I do, like, some stuff with my building, you know, like, just basic, you know, trying to keep it clean. Never am motivated enough to sweep the stairs, you know.
I'd spent a long time, I lived in a squat when I first got here, on the Lower East Side, and me and a guy called Ralph, you ain't gonna ask me to look at the camera, are you? Me and a guy called Ralph decided, he lived in a squat across the road from mine on East 8th Street, and both our squats didn't have roofs on them, so we wanted to get together money to buy material to build our roofs. We came up with the idea, at the time I was in nausea, we came up with the idea of putting together a benefit show with some Lower East Side bands. We done the first one and we called it Squatter Rock, and that one was really successful, so we decided to do another one, done another one. We started moving the Squatter Rock shows around different spaces and that, and as the neighbourhood got gentrified, or yuppier, I don't know what term you want to use, it got harder and harder to find spaces to do events in, benefit events, you know. And then I broke up from Squatter Rock and started doing Tribal War, and the only places for me to do shows were clubs, and I hate doing shows in clubs. You know, to me that's not what punk bands are about, it's not what punk's about, it's just music, it's more than music. And I saw ABC as a place that could be run by the people in the scene, the punks, and bands that didn't want to be associated with the club scene, that wanted their message to be more than music. It gave them a space to play, get some gas money and whatever else, some food money, and play to a different crowd rather than just a club crowd. I also liked the politics that were going on in the space. A lot of different politics, Food Not Bombs is there, and a lot of like community work groups are there. I like that. Like the things that grabbed me then are very different to what grabbed me now. You know, back then it was the fast lifestyle, it was the drinking, the drugs, the hanging out with a bunch of people, laying in the street in a gun. Now it's a totally different.
What's now?
Now it's basically I question everything. I question everything that is around me, that I read in newspapers, everything I see on TV, everything the government does. It's taught me to be reliant on myself, to do things that make me feel good inside, and I know that I'm not out there exploiting people with what I do. I guess to try and create my own autonomous environment. I won't say I don't. I find it hard to believe that we could have an international anarchism where the whole world would suddenly become anarchistic and, without a government. I find that hard to see, but I think people individually can try and direct their lives towards an autonomous type of living. It's hard when you look around and you see like capitalism surrounding me with 7 inches and LPs and all that. It's hard to talk about autonomy when you're in a Marxist, but
on, and we're all here. And we're going to start out with the singer-songwriter Jane Hohenberger. Please give her a warm welcome. Thanks. Hi, I'm Jane Hohenberger.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you so much, Eric, for asking me to perform at this. I'm totally honored. This is called Bullet. Thrown into the heat, the fire drank me down. Been looking for you, but you're not around. By who? But if you don't take care of yourself, no one's gonna take care of you. We litter in our streets. Oh, we contaminate the land. Oh, we wonder why we sleep in garbage and eat poison. Oh, you are the bullet in your head. You are the bullet in your head. I don't have to kill you, 'cause you're the assassin that'll make sure you're dead. Life is a funeral procession where we're chasing each other around. We fight to live in boxes, then we end up in one underground. I'm tired of planting flowers, you'll only kill them for me when I'm sick. The earth needs them more than me. If I plant them again, they'll say, do not pick. We put pictures on the air. Oh, the rich are on the internet. Oh, money gets more technology while the poor go deeper in debt. Oh, look and see which schools have computers. Look and see where the schools are with none. Look at the ratio of black men in college compared to prison. The TV says it tastes fine, so we drink up our oppression to get some more. We wait online and take drugs for the depression. You are the bullet in your head. You are the bullet in your head. I don't have to kill you, 'cause you're the assassin that'll make sure you're dead. We're at both ends of the barrel, and we're all too trigger happy. The top of the food chain has no predator, so we're our own worst enemy. One little piggy went to market. One little piggy stayed home. One little piggy ate roast beef. One little piggy packed a gun. One little piggy shot all the others, and now there are none. That's Bullet. Thanks.
Person after person after person who hits the stage is amazing, and I think this is exactly the right moment for Steve Ben Israel.
Coming soon, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Steven Seagal, Wesley Snipes, Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, Christopher Walken, and Harvey Keitel in Fuck You! Coming this summer. Fuck you too!
Man, Giuliani, how big is Manhattan?
Manhattan is 7 miles of money, sports, culture, and a government keeping it going. It's quality.
But Mayor Giuliani, what is quality?
Manhattan sports and Manhattan culture, internationally known the world over today, every day, and the day after.
But quality, how do we ensure its standards are maintained?
NYPD Blue. Keeps the peace.
Mayor Giuliani, what about Amnesty International's recent report on NYPD abuses?
Miss, who are we here to serve?
The people!
Wrong. The middle class. Pretend I'm not your mayor. Pretend I'm Rudy Giuliani, fan of the Mets. If I was free to speak my mind like an average citizen, do you know what I would say to the Lower East Side?
No.
Does anybody know? No. Get jobs! Nobody rides for free, you have to pay rent!
Is that why you're gutting this neighborhood like a fish?
That wasn't very objective. If you don't pay rent, the system doesn't work.
You won't accept the rent from ABC No Rio anymore. It's setting us up for eviction. That's not very objective.
What about the CSV Cultural Center? It's in debt! Wasn't paying its rent!
They were paying what they were told to. Suddenly the city turned around and said, whoops, we didn't tell you the right amount. So now you're in arrearage.
Mayor.
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 Arrearage, Mayor.
Arrearage.
Mayor.
I'm not your mayor.
Mayor.
If I was just Rudy, you know what I would say? I don't care. Look at the kind of art these places make. Noise and garbage, please. Paint like Renoir, you know, the girl with the hoop. That's what people come to New York to speak. That's what the police are for, to protect us from bad art.
We're willing to play by the rules.
Well, the rules have changed. We need quality now.
What if ABC No Rio owned the body of Peter Stuyvesant?
That is purely hypothetical. Don't pick on Peter. Don't pick on Peter. Don't pick on Peter. He had one leg and an iron fist. Founding father of our city. He rests in a crypt in St. Mark's Church, a quality historical site in this great city, like the tourist Peter Stuyvesant, who will never go near ABC No Rio, like the tourist. He, like me, wants quality.
But Mayor Giuliani, what is quality?
Well, you either got it or you don't. Like welfare reform.
But you said, I'm against welfare reform because welfare reform passes the cost of welfare onto the backs of the cities.
Mayor.
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 I'm against welfare reform in regards to welfare.
But you're in favor of welfare reform in regards to
Quality. The mayor is a very busy man. It's a busy city. This is a busy place. The police are always ready to get busy. Catch my drift?
Mayor, how big is Manhattan?
Wall Street is going condo. Midtown is cleaning up. The Lower East Side is between a rock and a hard place. So understand who I am. No talent, no quality, no break. 3 strikes, and you're out of here.
Todd Colby, Jimmy McGuire.
A little play called Some Questions. Thank you.
That was Sander Hicks with Jenny McGuire and Todd Colby.
Got involved with ABC No Rio as the tail end of a long involvement with the squatter scene, which has been going on since like 1988 or so. I got involved in serious defense of our neighborhood, which was always a low-income, working-class artist neighborhood that's been being gentrified slowly but surely. And I got involved in defending the neighborhood in every way I could, which included fighting against the curfew of the Tompkinswood Park, which we succeeded in holding back for 4 years, which I think was a big victory, even though eventually they did put curfew on the park. It closes at midnight now. I helped to support and defend the homeless people who were living in the park, and learned a lot about housing and the lack of it in America. And we just said, like, either give these people housing or leave them alone. And a lot of people in the neighborhood helped the homeless people, and even formed a big circle around them when police came, even though it was symbolic. It showed that we supported them. And I've been involved in a lot of stuff defending the different squads, and there's just been a lot. There have been evictions, I did a campaign to get signatures of different groups, some groups like the Democratic Party clubs, to churches, to what have you, just local tenant support groups, just getting documents supporting the squats, you know, to help legitimize the squats. I did a conference on housing where I included the squatters as a big part of the conference. And basically just trying, you know, being part of the activism around it. So the squats, the neighborhood, keeping a low-income neighborhood, keeping it a neighborhood that sort of has a sense of caring about poor people, about housing. It's all tied in together. We were involved in a whole campaign to, basically there was a local housing group, in quotes, really a group that gets grants and takes over buildings, kind of corrupt housing group that had ABC No Rio on its list of buildings that it wanted. It was going to wipe out. The city was going to use them as an excuse to evict everyone and rehab the building and give it to this group for some housing plan. And the whole plan was ridiculous because there's not very many apartments possible to make out of ABC No Rio. It wouldn't have provided much housing. And then we destroyed this art center. It's been around since 1980, I think. So, well, some of us, we were just totally determined to do everything we could to save ABC No Rio. And we are street activists, the group, you know, around it. We'd go out in the street, we'd do civil disobedience, we'd get arrested. You know, we make life uncomfortable for those who are trying to wipe out the culture of the Lower East Side. And I must say, I learned that. You know, I've now been around in somewhat political since the 60s, but I really learned around the street activism from the squatters and activists around here in the last 10 years, and I got very much into it. So anyway, we formulated a plan, we did that play, we then did a civil disobedience action at the offices of this housing group, which was called Acting Asian Americans for Equality, and a group that once had been good, that had lost its mission in these right-wing leaning times. It lost its mission and it seems to be after the money and power. Anyway, we chained ourselves. We got into their office. We chained ourselves to, I chained myself to a radiator, actually the bottom of the radiator, sitting on the floor, and another person was chained to the door. And we disrupted their office. And they had to call the cops with big giant clippers. It took a couple of hours, and that was the idea. We wanted to really disrupt them and let them know that we were a determined group of people and they weren't going to take this building. And, you know, certainly without going through a very big hassle themselves. And they didn't like that at all. And that got some media, and it was written up in local newspapers. And then we followed that up a week or two later by going to HPD, Housing Regulation Development, the city agency that, you know, kind of oversees all these kinds of development or, you know, destruction of squats and stuff. And we went there, and we were not allowed to enter the building, of course. There are guards in the lobby, but we staged a demonstration in the lobby. And then a number of us just snuck past the guards and got up into the building. We went to the HPD commissioner's office, and people just staged a sit-in. They were told they had to leave, and they said, "We're not going, we're refusing to leave." We, in a certain sense, lucked out because the HPD commissioner at the time, a Mexican-American woman named something Barrios, I can't remember her name. Anyway, she apparently had a little bit of activism in her past, and she agreed to have a meeting with us on the spot, which usually doesn't happen. Usually they'll say, "You broke in here, we will never meet with you under these circumstances," and all that stuff. But she had a meeting with us, and by the time that meeting was over, there was a tentative agreement to let the community keep ABC No Rio as an art center if a proposal was submitted and the city agreed, and, you know, various other technical things would have to be agreed to, but at least it was a beginning. And the eviction had been 2 days away, and she called it off. Now, I don't want to act like this charitable person just gave this to us, because what had really happened was she had called up Asian Americans for Equality, and she told us this at the meeting. She sort of let this slip. She said, "Oh yes, I've been on the phone with that Asian Americans for Equality," like indicating, like, boy, did they give me an earful. And you don't have to be very bright to realize that what they were probably saying to her was, "Get these crazy squatters off our backs, you know, get them out of our office, get them out of our hair. Could we possibly have another building and not that one?" We think that was what was going on behind the scenes, because we made such a big scene. Oh, we also had a phone zap around Christmas time. Actually, that was something I organized, we just put out flyers for everyone to call Acme and just jam their phones night and day and just say, leave ABC No Rio alone. So there's 4 things I can remember that we, did. And there might have been, I think there may have been more things, but that's the part I remember. We were, by the way, arrested at Acme. We were in this, they didn't put us through the system, which would have been at least 24 hours. We got out in a couple of hours. And it was very thrilling. It was very thrilling that for all of us that were involved in that we did it. We put our bodies on the line and we basically said we're going to put our bodies on the line. Anyway, so that's how it came about that ABC No Rio is still here. And the reason that I was willing to go that far was because for me, even though I don't live here and I'm not really part of the collective, I have come here, you have the opportunity of getting up and reading my poetry here. And I'm not an official poet. I'm not a person who goes around reading poetry, but I had some poems, and I was able to get up here and read them to my community, and it was exciting for me. I appreciated that a lot. And helped connect me with more of the space in a time when we, frankly, are in big trouble with the Giuliani administration. We're going to move on to gardens soon, maybe. In the community gardens and middle-class housing. And there's a lot of, we've been pushed back. There's a huge police force out there, huge police force. It's very important to have some victories to keep going as an activist and feel you can accomplish something. So ABC No Rio means that to me also. It's like one thing we can point to recently and say, look, we went out there, and we fought and we used all of our skills as activists and our guts and our, dedication, our refusal to give up, that whole kind of thing. We won't go away, we won't give up. And look.
However, in this recent eviction battle that we went through, the compromise we worked out with the city was that the people who were living here would willingly vacate and give up their homes, and that No Rio would run the whole building as a community arts center. So the deal was No Rio could stay if the building was preserved for community use. There could be ABC No Rio programs, but the idea is to keep the building as a community resource, which is a compromise we're actually happy to make. It was a difficult deal to turn down. You have to raise a lot of money, over $100,000, to renovate the building. And if we're able to do that, the city will sell us the building for $1. So it's a tough deal to say no to, because they would just say, well, we wanted to sell them the building for $1, but they said that wasn't good enough. So we were pretty much forced into accepting this compromise. And sometimes we look at it as a victory, but we didn't have a victory party, because the fact of the matter is 8 people will be giving up their homes to make this happen. So.
Boca to Big Mountain, from Gulf to Uranium. Excuses for culture and brutal exposition, designed to humiliate and crush our thoughts of rebellion. But the fight has been going on for all my life.
new generation is basically it's the same as when I first got into it. You got the same bands. I think they're looked at as, you know, if you cross Rancid with the Sex Pistols, basically Rancid's exactly the same as what the Sex Pistols were, and you're getting that same, you know, group of kids that are into the drugs, the alcohol. That's the rebellion, especially in America, where alcohol is so looked down upon as far as young people goes. I mean, in England, it's nothing to walk in a pub at fucking 13 and start drinking, you know. I mean, even my dad pushed alcohol on us when we were young, so you be ready, you know. Whereas here it's this, like, oh, don't do that, it's such a bad thing. So kids, of course, are going to rebel against it. And instead of questioning politics and that, their obvious rebellion is cigarettes, which are really looked down upon, drugs and alcohol. You know, so that is like their rebellion against their parents. I mean, there's going to be those people that go through the punk revival, and it's just going to be music, and it's just going to be that, and they'll come out of school, they'll go into their colleges, they'll do their 4 years of rebellion, which their parents expect, and then after that, boom, they'll be into the workforce, and we won't hear from them again. Maybe some of them will go into cool jobs, but the majority will just go in the regular 9 to 5 life. But then there will be those people that do find something more than the music and start questioning and start getting into bands that are trying to get a message across. You know? I'm not going to come down on these bands because I think every band has its part. It's what's the word? Yeah, its part in making up the punk scene. And I mean, I find you go to Europe now, and yeah, there's a great older scene of punks, you know, that are doing a lot. But unfortunately, there's not a good younger scene now. Whereas here, we don't have many older punks, but we have a great younger scene. So, I think if we can really get into the young kids and corrupt their minds, get them into the beliefs and the politics. Yeah, a lot of kids get involved in ABC, young kids, and then they go off to college, and I think the pressures from professors at college, from the environment they're in, from the kids that are up there, I think probably taking a piss out of them and going on about how they've got to be successful in their life. I'm sure parents go on at them about how they've got to be successful financially. You know, that's a big part of America. To be successful, education is such a important thing, to be financially successful in this society. And I think those pressures take a lot of kids, and when they come back to the city from college, they're normally into a totally different, you know, they're not into the politics anymore. They might be into the music, but that's it. You know, they're so busy trying to be successful financially for their parents and everything, that, you know, you lose them.
It's a 14 hours in an island that we run out. Maybe I want to take what talks and don't you put your head in the big stuff. I don't just say what's wrong now. Whatever. Hey!
charity.
Flesh and blood.
How are they responsive to ABC No Rio?
Oh, I mean, they're all, you know, it's like they took it personally when the city tried evicting us. So they're all like, they feel a real strong, I mean, that's one of the weird things about No Rio is that it is a pretty run-down, dumpy place that so many people would like come out in support of us. It's actually quite amazing. And so people who like come around and do stuff here actually end up with a really strong emotional, like an emotional investment in the place, regardless of what their connection is, whether they're a punk, a poet, or a visual artist, whether they're using the space now or they just did a show here 15 years ago. For some reason, and I'm not exactly sure why that is, but it's you know, ABC No Rio, this space, was able to capture these people emotionally, and they felt committed to, you know, responding positively on our behalf when the city tried evicting us. I mean, that was one of the amazing things, because it wasn't just punks who supported us, and it wasn't just squatters, because if that was the case, the city would have evicted us. The fact of the matter is, all sorts of people from all sorts of different backgrounds supported ABC No Rio, and I think that's one of the reasons why the city had to give up on trying to kick us out. Because the city's got no problem kicking out squatters. So if our support was only squatters, it wouldn't matter. So I think the fact that we actually have like a really broad and diverse group of people behind us, you know, works on our behalf. And I'm not sure why the place why people have this emotional investment in the place, but, you know, fact of the matter is there's like a real strong connection that people end up developing between themselves and ABC No Rio, whether they're a punk, a poet, an artist, or a political person.
ABC really helped us out as far as hooking us up with some great shows, and you know, the first few times we played up there, we suffered the same syndrome that a lot of bands do that were never heard of up in New York, playing in front of 30 people, you know. And then after a while, you know, for a while the New York crowd was probably one of our biggest crowds, you know, and it's a lot of cool people up here and shit. And I just think we owe a lot to ABC, and I think ABC itself is an institution of punk rock on the East Coast, at least. I mean, they've done numerous things for bands, as well as, you know, numerous things for the whole squatting movement. You know, I mean, it just goes to show you, if you do fight for something that you truly want and truly believe in, that you can get somewhere. And, you know, I mean, ABC's been battling with, you know, the city of New York for on and off 5, 6 years now.
15.
15. Well, yeah, they've been around for 15.
That we know.
But yeah, but they've been battling with the city hardcore, you know, having the threat of losing. Okay.
Bye, Garrett.
See you later.
Have a safe trip.
Oh, thank you. We will, man.
See you.
See you.
Let's bring you back a German.
Yeah, but, you know, again, I mean, it just goes to show you that when people do unite and fight for one common belief, or, you know, or just something that they honestly believe in, that they can, you know, break some walls down, and, you know, so again, I think it's an institution, and I think just a lot of people owe a lot to ABC, you know, and it's like we do what we can for it. We've done numerous benefits for it, you know, and we always will, you know, so I have to say.
Punk is just basically, you know, to quote the great Casualties, I'm gonna say it's a way of life. And yeah, it's just, you know, a subculture, you know, 100%, you know, for social change. You know, some people just think it's, you know, fashion and, you know, drinking and whatnot, which, you know, that's all good and all, but I don't know. You have to go deeper into it, you know. Next.
Not only motivate other people, but motivate ourselves and just kind of the scene that we are a part of too, you know, like by bringing issues maybe under scrutiny that, you know, we feel there are actually things they can do to accomplish something instead of just singing about it, or instead of just saying, well, yeah, the system sucks and, you know, fuck the government. But there are ways, and you can try to create change and work and network try to do some good, you know. So hopefully just motivation. We just did a show before we came up here and flyered it, really pushing the issue of people like accepting and you know, putting up with Nazis and hanging out with Nazis and everything. So we had everyone from the show. We showed a video of Auschwitz before the show, just to kind of like basically put it right in people's faces and say, you know, this is what fucking happens when you hang out with Nazis and you let these things occur. And, you know, I think mostly we've gotten a good reaction to that. But then again, there are people that, you know, feel that, you know, by us saying, you know, it's wrong for you to hang out with Nazis because they do this thing, that people think that we're being borderline fascists or something, you know, trying to say like, oh, well, you know, you're not allowed to hang out with these people, you know, because this is what they're into. But overall, I think people who've respected and can relate exactly what we're trying to do.
Usually the people that bitch about us are the ones that are fucking dodgy anyway. They're the ones that hang out with the Nazis, willingly accept them.
And it's not just the punk scene. I mean, Pittsburgh in general is like probably a lot of cities in this country right now getting worse with racial tension. Like, you know, through the past few months, there was a big KKK rally in Pittsburgh. It wasn't big, I guess. but it's the first like Klan rally in Pittsburgh in years, and there was about 50 Klansmen, and there was about right across the street there was about 3,000 anti-Klan protesters. Then there was other groups that had anti-Klan rallies like in different parts of the city that didn't want to be as confrontational, but were still out. There are also things with like Pittsburgh Police Department in Pittsburgh, which has come under a lot of scrutiny and is under federal investigation now because of an incident where 5 white police officers murdered a black man. Of course, all the charges were dropped on all of them. The one guy got promoted and everything too, and this guy has gotten away with murder for the second time now. I'm not sure if I talked to you about this with the other interview or not. I'm thinking I might now, so I'm going to sit here and repeat everything. But, you know, basically, there's people in the city who've been pushing for like a civilian review board to oversee cop activities, and cops have been fighting that the whole way. And, you know, I guess there's Nazis popping up here and there in different neighborhoods and everything now, like people know where they live. Might be a good thing that at least, you know, we actually know where they're at now, as to knowing that they're there but not where they are. Now people can know exactly where they're at and maybe have an easier time confronting these situations.
Be it people who support you or people who, you know, are totally against you. You know, I think it's good to have both people here. You know, you have to let the enemy know who you are, and you have to let, you know, your friends and fellow people know.
That's what's about also. Again, what's going to be nice is we're going to go over and play this festival in Nordheim. Yeah, we're going to be playing in front of we're going to be playing with a band called Guts Pie Earshot from Germany that are really good. 2 other bands I'm not familiar with. I believe one of them's a hip-hop band. So obviously we're going to be playing in front of some people who've never heard us and never heard what we've had to say, and hopefully, you know, we can, you know, create some new ideas for people, or, you know, reinforce some new ideas, or old ideas for people, I should say. So I think that's, you know, that's great. I think that's great. It just goes to show you, you can reach a more vast audience, you know, without having to sign to EMI like fucking idiots like Chumbawamba. You know, their excuse for signing to EMI is reach a more vast crowd. I mean, that's the biggest crock of shit that I've ever heard. You know, so. Besides, most of those people listening to them on MTV or whatever the hell watching them don't give 2 shits about the message. So,
You know, they will for a little bit, as long as the trend.
As long as MTV says it's okay, you know.
I mean, maybe hopefully some of them will stick to it and learn from it. But you know, in most cases, when something becomes that fashionable and that trendy and stuff, it doesn't stick. You know, some people can stick to it, stick to the message. You know, but generally, it's just going to be a trend. As soon as it's over, it's over. Where people go back to doing whatever they were doing before, whatever's the newest thing to do.
Stop now!